Another day, another book review. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing really well today. I'm here today because I've just finished reading this book, The Household by Stacey Halls. And I thought it would be a perfect time to talk about it while it was still fresh in my memory. Now, in the past, I've really enjoyed some books by Stacey Halls, and I was really excited to pick up The Household. I do enjoy a dip into historical fiction now and then. It's one of the genres I typically do enjoy, and as I say, I've enjoyed other books previously by Stacey Halls. The Familiars in particular was one I absolutely loved. Now, I believe Stacey Halls has said that this book was her most historically researched book yet. I think it took her about a year of research into the house that she was writing about to feel able to put pen to paper. Now, the house I'm talking about is called Urania House, and it was a sort of almost like a halfway house for fallen women back in the Victorian era, women who'd fallen on hard times and generally had turned to crime or prostitution. Urania House was set up to be like sort of a stepping stone into civilization before the women were to be sent off to the colonies in Australia to start new lives away from anybody who knew them, knew of their past, and to basically get them out of what would probably end up being a lifestyle that would contribute to their demise. Bizarrely, Urania House was actually set up by Charles Dickens and Angela Burdick Coates, I believe the name is slipping my mind, but they set it up as as sort of a goodwill project, and the story behind it all is fascinating, as are the lives of the women who were forever changed by their experiences there. And all in all, it does seem like the actual real house was, I mean, it was so-so. It was about 50% successful. I think the other women ran away, but some women did actually go on to live new lives and change the path that their life was on. And so this is where Stacey Halls got her idea for The Household from, and she created almost like a fictionalized version based on some of the real life stories of the women that she found during her research. All in all, this really should have been my type of read. I really do enjoy historical fiction. I love women's stories, and I very much enjoy a look at Victorian England. And so I was very excited to read this book. However, I found it a really difficult read. Let me just point out as well, please ignore the painting that I've got hung there. I'm in the middle of deciding how I'm going to decorate my room, and I have paintings sitting up against the walls until I can figure out where they're going to go and what's going to happen with them. So please ignore the painting that's sat there in the corner there. But yeah, back to the book. It took me the longest time to get into The Household. I didn't know why, but I just couldn't get into it. I found it to be not very gripping at all for me, which is a great shame considering how I have enjoyed Stacey Halls' books in the past, and I know that she did put in a hell of a lot of research, and I don't know whether it was because there was so much research into the actual real Urania House. I don't know if perhaps it was that made the book not as fun to read. There were a plethora of characters, and it was almost hard to stay on top of who they all were, and I really didn't actually actively care for any of them. There were things going on that involved all the different women and their backstories and their current stories and their traumas and things that had happened to them, and I just found myself unable to care about any of them. There was not one character that I felt particularly warm to, or one character that I really felt that I wanted to know more about their story. I found it really difficult to get into the book, and I have to be honest, it was only about the last quarter of the book that I actually enjoyed, and I persevered with it because I thought it had to get better, and then once I'd got past sort of the 150 page mark, I felt committed and felt like I had to finish it even though I wasn't enjoying it. And I will say the last sort of quarter of the book I did enjoy a lot more than any of the other parts of the book, and I had been really close to DNF in the book. It's definitely not a book that I would reach for again. In fact, it's actually going into my donate pile, and I was pretty upset about it because the actual design of the book is beautiful and the end papers are stunning. However, it just fell so flat. I found it confusing because even on the front of the book it says not all who are fallen want to be saved, and I thought there was going to be some sort of a maybe a woman whose story led to other paths where she felt torn and couldn't allow herself to be saved, or wanted to go back into the life that she'd had before. Maybe there would be an unusual love interest. Maybe there would be feelings of duty to perhaps a particular brothel, or some reason why she couldn't go forward with her life and be saved. I thought maybe it was going to be along those lines, but it wasn't. As far as I'm aware from what I read, there is not one person in the book who didn't want to be saved. It just quite honestly for me fell quite flat, and it wasn't a very good read for me. And yeah, so I mean, it's a bit of a disappointment. I was really hoping for more. As I said, I have really enjoyed Stacey Hall's books before, and this just wasn't it. So I'd love to know if you've read The Household, or if you haven't, but you're going to, or maybe it's on your TBR. I'd love to know your thoughts on the book and Stacey Hall's books in general. I mean, I as I say, I've really enjoyed them thus far, and this one was just a massive flop for me, and I just don't know why. Yeah, so that's all I really have to say on the subject, and I hope you're all doing really well, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.